The Cotton Exchange of Wilmington, North Carolina lives on North Front Street in downtown Wilmington. In total, the Cotton Exchange includes 8 buildings that were built in the late 19th century. The Cotton Exchange is named after the old James Sprent Cotton Exchange Company, which was arguably the biggest cotton exporter on the East Coast. The old James Sprent Cotton Exchange closed in 1940, and throughout the Cotton Exchange you will find bales of cotton and the equipment that was used in the exchange and export of cotton. Downtown Wilmington has a strong industrial background, and the opening of the exchange in 1976 created more than 200 new jobs. The Cotton Exchange was one of the first buildings to keep a significant amount of its infrastructure and utilize the space that already existed. It started the trend for the revitalization of downtown Wilmington. In the 1970s, the Cotton Exchange was bought with the intent of creating a shopping center that encompasses a historical trade experience. A fact most people do not know about the Cotton Exchange is that several of the walls are actually built from old parts of ships. The furniture found in and around the exchange was bought from antique stores to keep the historical vibe. The Cotton Exchange celebrated its 40th anniversary in October 2016. In 1976, it opened as one of the first commercial restoration projects in historic downtown Wilmington. Many shops and businesses have lived within these walls from the time of construction to now. Like a phoenix, the exchange has risen time after time from fire, hurricanes, and floods. Big stores moved out of downtown in the early 70s, like Sears and JCPenney, and the series of buildings covering a 2-block radius was slated for demolition. The Urban Renewal Board worked their best and saw the potential in turning this building into a theme center, similar to Quincy Market in Boston. They had to fight hard for financing and needed to become creative. Some of the early tenants even renovated their spaces themselves in exchange for free rent. Today, the Cotton Exchange has over 20 stores and restaurants, and it has 5 sections that it consists of. The Wood Seed Building, a building that once housed a Chinese laundromat and a seed company. The Bear Building, which was an early 20th century grocery store. The Bryan Building, which was originally a Sears. The Granary Building, and the Danhart Building, which was originally a salon. Through the halls of the Cotton Exchange, there is hidden history with each step. There are many artifacts in the buildings that were once used for much more than decoration. Many of these items were donated by people who grew up in Wilmington and witnessed the development of the Cotton Exchange. On the right in this image, you can see a large scale that was donated by a Wilmington family who used the scale on their farm in the 1890s. It would weigh goods that came in and out of the farm. On the left you can see a large feeding truck from the 1950s that was used to pull grain around the farm to feed animals. There are many other items hidden around the Cotton Exchange that were donated from people. There is also an old cotton press from the early 1900s. And as I mentioned before, the Cotton Exchange here in Wilmington was arguably the biggest cotton exporter on the East Coast back then. The Alexander Smart & Son, Inc. Incorporated was one of the largest cotton export companies in the world, which occupied the building 321 North Front Street. This is the location where there are now shops and houses on the second and upper floors. As we see this revamped wagon wheel, I would ask my guiding questions. How can we apply the information we've learned about the cotton industry to industrialization in America? What do the farm items and other artifacts tell us about early Wilmington? Was it rural or suburban? How do you know? And finally, through the artifacts in the Cotton Exchange, what can you conclude about change over time, in terms of what types of stores have been here and what types of stores are currently here, such as the old pharmacy and now the tourist shops? Imagination, planning, and determination turned a block of empty buildings doomed for demolition into a unique complex of offices, restaurants, and specialty shops. Realtors envisioned this area as a unique new concept in retailing, in keeping with the historic overtones already regulated to that part of the city. Developers Joe Reeves and Mal Murray stated, We dreamed of a turn-of-the-century riverfront atmosphere reminiscent of old Charleston and Savannah. The large lanterns flanking the courtyard of the Cotton Exchange were formerly at the Wilmington Customs House. The glass doors and pediments were the dining room doors of the Ocean Forest Hotel in Myrtle Beach. The sailing ship anchor in the courtyard was brought up by a former shrimper off the coast of North Carolina. The railway express wagon, pump, and chandeliers in the arcade are antiques, and the blackened ceiling is the result of the 1974 fire. In addition to the industrial history, the Cotton Exchange has been a main stop in downtown Wilmington's haunted tours. People often claim to see the ghost of a small girl while on the tour in this general store or in the ice cream parlor. The tour guides have created an elaborate story to go along with it, about how she was lost in the store and something terrible happened. The Cotton Exchange has a rich history, and with history comes haunted rooms, right? As you walk through the halls, there are old newspapers and photographs of events that have happened downtown and around the Cotton Exchange. From the old-time general store to the up-and-coming restaurant, the Cotton Exchange has it all. There is such a warm and welcoming feeling, and the store owners are eager to share their own facts about the Cotton Exchange with anyone willing to listen. They're also eager to share their ghost stories that I just talked about, because each store seems to have their own story with their own ghosts. The Wilmington Cotton Exchange is by far one of the most unique places found in downtown Wilmington. All of the artifacts show a deep, detailed history of the building and the many uses of it. The Cotton Exchange holds so many stories within its walls, from the haunted ghost stories to John and Jean Bullock saving the building from demolition. I hope you enjoyed this virtual field trip. The Cotton Exchange demonstrated the interaction of humans with the environment and change over time. The location of Wilmington being right on the Cape Fear River shows why it was such a great place to import and export goods such as cotton, which also shows the movement of goods in and out of the Cotton Exchange. Additionally, the high roofs and many stories create the best physical features for not only a cotton exchange, but also a shopping center that is thriving greatly in the current economy.